The Alison Botha case is one of the most disturbing yet inspiring true crime stories in South African history. It is not only a tale of extreme violence, but also of unimaginable courage, survival, and the human will to live. Alison Botha was just 27 years old in December 1994. She lived in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, worked in the insurance industry, and was known as friendly, independent, and full of life. On the night of December 18, 1994, Alison had been out with friends. While returning to her apartment, Alison was looking forward to getting into bed after a cool shower, and so pulled in and reached over to get her clean laundry out of the passenger seat to bring upstairs. That's when she felt a gust of warm air. The car door had been flung open, and standing before her was a scrawny but tall young man with blonde hair. Immediately, Alison spotted the knife. "Move over, or I'll kill you," the man said to her in a low, matter-of-fact voice. She did exactly what he said. He climbed into the driver's seat and put his foot on the accelerator. After a few moments, he assured her, "I don't want to hurt you. I just want to use your car for an hour." At that point, Alison believed him. She considered jumping out of the moving car, but found herself frozen. She begged the man, who called himself Clinton, to take the car and leave her. But he refused. He had something he needed to do. Someone owed him money. He wouldn't be long. This man, later identified as Frans du Toit, drove her to a secluded area where they were joined by another man, Theuns Kruger. Frans du Toit and Theuns Kruger. The two men repeatedly raped her, strangled her to the point of unconsciousness, but the strangulation wasn't enough to kill Alison. Frustrated, Du Toit and Kruger took their brutality to the next level. They stabbed Alison at least 30 times in the abdomen. Alison later recalled that Du Toit specifically wanted to mutilate her reproductive organs. But somehow, the attackers missed those specific parts of her body. When Botha's leg twitched, Du Toit and Kruger decided the job wasn't quite done yet. They then slit her throat, 16 times. "All I could see was an arm moving above my face," Alison Botha later recalled. Left and right and left and right. His movements were making a sound, a wet sound. It was the sound of my flesh being slashed open. He was cutting my throat with the knife. Again and again and again. Alison would later describe that the stabbings felt abstract. "It felt unreal, but it wasn't," she said. "I felt no pain, but it was not a dream. This was happening. The man was slashing my throat." As the men finally stepped back, Alison heard them talking in Afrikaans. "Do you think she's dead?" one of the attackers asked. "No one can survive that," the other replied. Believing that they had killed her, Du Toit and Kruger drove away. But little did they know that Botha was still breathing. Lying on the ground amongst the dirt and sand, Alison knew, "I had to at least leave a clue about who did this to me." She decided to write the names of her attackers in the dirt. Then, beneath that, she wrote, "I love Mum." But soon, Alison realized she might have a chance to survive. In the distance, she could see headlights. When Alison Botha moved toward the headlights, she realized the full extent of her injuries. As she pulled herself up, her head started to fall backward, since she had nearly been decapitated. Meanwhile, she could also feel something slimy protruding from her abdomen, her intestines. She had to use one hand to keep her organs from spilling out, and the other hand to literally hold on to her own head. Botha recalled, "As I struggled forward, my sight faded in and out, and I fell many times but managed to get up again until I finally reached the road. There she collapsed along the white line. Even in her disoriented state, She knew that this was the best position to attract the attention of a motorist. Fortunately, Botha didn't have to wait for long. A young veterinary student named Tian Eilerd, who was visiting Port Elizabeth on holiday from Johannesburg, saw Botha lying in the middle of the road and stopped. "God put me on that road that night for a reason," Eilerd later said. He used his veterinary training to tuck Botha's exposed thyroid back inside her body. Then, Eilerd called emergency services for help. Alison Botha was rushed to the hospital, where doctors were stunned by her horrific wounds. One doctor, Alexander Angelov, later said that he had never seen such severe injuries in his 16 years of practicing medicine. Botha was on the brink of death. But she managed to pull through, and she also remembered everything about her attackers. She was soon able to identify them from police pictures while she was still in the hospital. This led to the speedy arrest of the Ripper rapists, as they were called in the press. Her attackers had made critical mistakes. Evidence left at the scene, and Alison's detailed recollection helped authorities identify and arrest Theo van der Merwe and Frans Dutoit within days. During the trial, the sheer brutality of the crime shocked the nation. Both men were found guilty of abduction, rape, and attempted murder. They showed little remorse. In 1995, they were sentenced to life imprisonment. Their names became symbols of cruelty, while Alison's became a symbol of survival. But surviving the attack was only the beginning of Alison's journey. She had to undergo years of physical recovery and emotional healing. The trauma did not disappear. She struggled with fear, nightmares, and the psychological scars left behind by the assault. Yet she refused to let the crime define her. Instead, Alison chose to speak out. She became a motivational speaker, sharing her story around the world. Her message was not about hatred or revenge, but about strength, resilience, and the power of choice even in the darkest moments. She emphasized that while she could not control what happened to her, she could control how she lived afterward. Her story later inspired the documentary Alison, 2016, which further highlighted her courage and the importance of listening to survivors of violence. Alison Botha's case also sparked national conversations in South Africa about violence against women, survivor support, and the justice system. Today, the Alison Botha case is remembered not just as one of extreme brutality, but as one of the greatest survival stories ever recorded.